everyone, I'm Ken Molestino. Welcome to Viva North Texas. We're celebrating Latino and Hispanic heritage from around town here in North Texas. The Hispanic population, in case you didn't know, it comprises 19% of the population of the United States, about 63 million people. According to the 2021 population estimates from the United States Census Bureau, that makes people of Hispanic origin the nation's largest racial or ethnic minority. Texas is one of 13 states with a population of 1 million or more Hispanic residents. Now, the number of counties in Texas where the Hispanic population is the largest increased from 64 counties to 72 counties in the span of 10 years. I want to share some of this data here with you, so try and follow along. Within North Texas, Dallas County 41% here. Tarrant County, 20%. Denton County has 20% of its population being Hispanic or Latino. Over in Collin County, it's 16%. Now, the increase in population means the Hispanic and Latino buyers' power is greater than ever before. A new report by UCLA and Cal Lutheran shows the U.S. Latino GDP reached almost $4 trillion in 2022. It's the highest mark since the figure was first tracked and the fifth largest GDP in the world.
Style corset waistband with us. The embroidery technique on this design is done on a loom and drawn by hand. This embroidery comes from...
An example of bringing culture to commerce, by the way, right here is the Cadena Collective. It's a Latinx-owned e-commerce business based in Dallas. Alejandra Aguirre and her sister have embraced their cultural roots, and they've harnessed the power of social media to turn their passion into a flourishing business. Her content sparking a conversation around embracing indigenous fashion for events like galas, weddings, and the visibility on platforms like TikTok led to a massive surge in their business.
I think there's a space for our culture to be celebrated across the board and in many ways, right? It takes days, weeks, even months to elaborate some of these pieces. So by nature, these designs are luxury. And so we really wanted to hone in on that piece because oftentimes our culture is diluted into the sombrero and the sarape, and the reality is that we are much more than that. Our culture is rich and beautiful, and so getting to showcase that through these beautiful designs and through the beautiful stories of the artisans and the brands that we work with is really what Cadena Collective is all about. Our marketplace is for the person who wants to celebrate their culture 365 days, a year. This is not something, our marketplace is not something to run towards for a specific date or time, and not just our marketplace, our culture. And so when we start to see ourselves and when others start to see ourselves, to see us as a culture that can be celebrated year round, then we will show up more authentically. And so that's really what we're aiming to do at Cadena Collective, to allow someone to celebrate themselves and to show up authentically, because maybe this shirt or these earrings won't change the world, but the person who wears them and shows up authentically definitely will.
And again, that's just one example there. So from online now to in-person, Cultura Markets aims to bring together small vendors to showcase their culture at in-person events across the Metroplex. Digital content producer Nathalie Palacios spoke to some of the vendors at one of these markets.
So everything you see here, all of my artesanías have a name. I look at them and I see the people that created them. And I think Mariah is kind of along that. She's got that same kind of feel where, it's very much like for the people and elevating small businesses.
I love what I do. I'm very thankful to have amazing vendors and supporters, and I would not be able to do it without that sense of community. So it gets a little crazy, but it's definitely worth it at the end of the day.
But everything's dishwasher and then microwave.
It's very much like for the people and elevating small businesses.
I mean, a lot of unique gifts here that you normally wouldn't see anywhere else.
Especially now too, with the concentration of money and power the way it is, I think it's better to foment it to the general population and kind of support each other.
You pour your heart and heart and soul, and time into this stuff, and just for other people, to be able to enjoy that and really appreciate, the work that goes into it. It's such a satisfying feeling. It's very gratifying. I've created kind of like a career for myself. I was full-time employed before I started doing this, and I'm really trying to help build a company, build a brand to really create, you know, representation in the community.
Especially at this time, you know, we all need to be there for each other, and we need to create more unity.
So my very first market I did just in general was with Cultura. I didn't know really, you know, what I was getting into. I was like super nervous, but ever since then, for the most part, I've done about every single Cultura market.
If you get a chance to get out and see one of these, it's definitely worth the time. So take the time to come out and experience the culture. So I love it.
Cultura Markets purposefully hosts its events at locally owned businesses across the Metroplex to further encourage shopping locally. So if you're interested in learning more about their events, you can find their information on our website, cbsnewstexas.com. The State Fair is known for its creative and its vast amounts of tasty foods that are brought from all over the Lone Star State. One couple behind Tony's Taco Shop tells CBS News Texas about their journey from students to masters of their craft as they taste success at the fair.
It's always been a dream to come here.
Tony and Terry Bednar are the proud owners of Tony's Taco Shop and fourth-year vendors for the State Fair of Texas.
I mean, our company is it's mixed with different all cultures, you know, and somehow we make it work.
The couple went through the Big Tex Masterclass to learn more about being a successful business and graduated from the program in 2019.
There's so many Latin dishes you can bring, and that's what we look to try to bring, different dishes. We brought pupusas in 2022, and then in 2023 we did birria bomb, which is a papa rellena from Colombia, and infused it with the birria from Mexico. And then, of course, this year with the Drown and Taquitos. And then you have the Beso de Angel, which is loved by all of us.
They took what they learned and applied it in their preparations for the coming 2024 season.
I think it's more, and this year I think it's more. That we sell
How many
1,000.
boxes do you have left?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know because I'm worried. I say my husband, before we start with 10,000 ready. And yeah, in a couple days, yeah, we sell maybe 6,000 units. O sea, it's supposed to be maybe 2,000 orders. It's a lot. In 3 days today, it's a lot.
It's a success the couple does not take for granted. They take pride in their food and look forward to creating new fair foods in the future.
Agradecer a toda la gente que viene y hace parte de todos esos platillos porque lo hemos hecho con todo el amor del mundo, hemos trabajado muy fuerte.
We appreciate everybody that comes. We appreciate that, you know, that they come out and show their support because nobody's obligated, and we're astounded by it.
Coming up, we get a look at a real-life field of dreams, plus a colorful look at Hispanic culture displayed around North Texas. We'll be right back. Thanks for being with us. Welcome back, everyone, to Viva North Texas. There's a Dallas-based organization seeking to give underserved children in Dallas's Oak Cliff neighborhood renewed confidence, and they're doing this by putting new shoes on their feet just in time for the start of a new school year. Earlier this year, we got an inside look at the smiles that they're helping spread.
Jesse Acosta remembers as a kid growing up in Oak Cliff what it was like to not always have the best pair of shoes.
Once I became a teacher, I saw that cycle living itself again through my students.
Bullying is unfortunately a reality for many kids at school. So back in 2020, when Jesse was teaching at Oak Cliff's Kimball High School, his goal was to help provide just 50 pairs of shoes to his students. And boy, has the initiative grown.
It was supposed to be a one-time thing. We were just thinking 50 pair of shoes, and that was it.
That's when he co-founded Pasos for Oak Cliff, translating to steps in English. It's a nonprofit hosting sneaker fundraisers to make sure every kid in Oak Cliff has the shoes they need to put confidence in their soul.
Being able to provide those to families that we know, we probably don't think about those types of struggles. It makes me feel grateful.
They just held their August sneaker drive, giving 500 kids in Dallas ISD the chance to choose their kicks. Jesse says it's almost a cultural rite of passage for these kids.
When you think about basketball and hip hop, shoes have always been tied to that, and that's really strong here in Oak Cliff.
It has grown so much, Jesse no longer teaches, but instead is full-time with the nonprofit. They host another drive next month with the goal of continuing to spread their love of shoes by connecting them to the communities that need them most.
I'm not trying to say that shoes are going to solve bullying, but it helps a little bit. And we've seen it from what the parents tell us and the teachers tell us, that it really helps with confidence. From there, they're more in the classroom. They're getting better grades. And so it's just the whole cycle of education that it really feeds into.
In Dallas, Nicole Nielsen, CBS News, Texas.
A Hispanic educator in North Texas has made it his life's work to help others achieve their dreams. The UT Arlington educator is molding the next generation of bilingual and bicultural journalists. I spent the day in his class at UTA, where the groundwork is now taking place, and a lot of it is happening in Spanish.
And then once we start the show, we're going to start zooming in slowly.
A last-minute tip.
Stand by, guys.
Right before showtime.
2, 1.
This is Arlington Sentinel News en Español.
Bienvenidos a Arlington Sentinel News en Español.
An all-Spanish language newscast produced by bilingual University of Arlington journalism students and led under the guidance of their professor, Julian Rodriguez. He's a native of Colombia who came to the U.S. more than 20 years ago. He studied journalism and quickly knew his place in the field was as an academic, teaching students with similar backgrounds the same craft he learned.
There's no doubt that my background, my history, my heritage plays an important role. It's extremely powerful. The fact that I can switch from English a Español sin ningún problema, that helps connect with my students.
We got to see this firsthand.
¿Quién está todavía editando videos?
Where Rodriguez dips into Spanish and then right back into English with his students, and no one misses a beat.
You're going to be standing over here?
Spanish is my first language and I feel more comfortable with it, so literally speaking Spanish with them, it makes me feel like home.
It's proof of how diversity and their Hispanic roots connect them all. Rodriguez's focus on developing Spanish language journalists and media professionals at UTA began back in 2009. It's a place where he says more than 30% of students are Hispanic, and it's a number that's growing. Many of them the first in their families to go to college.
These are students that come from El Barrio. They come from the Latino community. Their parents, many of them didn't finish high school.
What is your wish for all of your students and for all of these dreams and visions that you've had over the years?
The wish is a very simple wish. The wish is for us to have representation and to truly understand who we are as Americans.
His passion and dedication to training the students is something that isn't lost on them.
He's energetic and he's really fun to interact with. As a Latino student, it's great to have another Latino teacher.
Helping others find that same passion that they have in their careers, whatever that is, it's what really drives me.
Perhaps that's why so many of his students also consider him to be a mentor, aside from just a high-energy professor with high expectations.
I get the sense that this is your favorite part of the job, the hands-on instruction.
Yeah, because this is where you get to interact directly with them and show them what it takes to produce a show.
In this setting, it's a newscaster working on, but Rodriguez says the bigger picture is to graduate students who can bring culture and professionalism into the workforce. And as we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, he's reminded of what it all means to him.
We have to remember our history, where we come from. And if we forget that, we're either bound to repeat our own mistakes or we forget the things that made us so wonderful.
And stay in the story. Entonces, la historia que siempre tiene que estar ahí.
ION Politics reporter Jack Fink spoke to 3 North Texas political leaders ahead of the 2024 elections to discuss Latino voters' impact, including the shifting trends for future elections.
There has been a resurgence of excitement in the current presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, being a daughter of immigrants, and Latinos can really relate to that.
I think when you look at the growing population, the expectation is that Latinos are going to comprise about 15% of the vote nationally, and that's huge. But I think the other key part to the equation is going to be that we have a predominant number of young people in the Latino community that are registered and eligible and likely to turn out to vote. And the current estimate that I'm seeing is that 1 in 4 voters nationally in this Latino group are going to be first-time voters. So I think that is going to be key.
For so many years, we've been talking about the Latino population as the sleeping giant. But what we've seen in the last few cycles is the sleeping giant is awake, and they're starting to vote in large numbers, in numbers that are decisive. They realize that their vote matters, and that's what brings people out to the polls. Young people today are engaging on social media like TikTok and YouTube and all of these different influencers, and that is bringing excitement to this community, young people, and that's bringing them to the polls.
I speak with young folk all the time, and they, I think as older people, we don't appreciate the level of connectivity, but knowledge that they have of what's really going on. We've underestimated them for so long, and I think that we're really going to see a great turnout.
We've certainly seen some trends in South Texas and really around the country where Hispanics are no longer beholden to one party. You know, as we see generations 1, 2, and 3 really grow up within the electoral system, they are moving much more like the general electorate than, say, Hispanics of the past.
What we see too is the generational gap, right? I've seen my Dominican mother-in-law and my Puerto Rican father-in-law since 2014. They have begun, they switched and they began voting Republican because they were talking with their grandkids. And we see this, not overwhelming, but a slow-moving wave of conservatism rising amongst young people.
That trend, while it was pronounced in 2016 and 2020, actually ebbed in 2022. So we see it go backwards. Whether or not there'll be a red wave or a blue wave, I think it's to be seen. But make no mistake, Hispanics in Texas can be won by either party. Either party has the opportunity, if they present the right issues and they present the right opportunities, to win that vote.
The border, it's not really one of the top issues. Immigration is not really one of the top issues Latinos really talk about. It is the economy, it is the jobs, it is the opportunity. But families are really concerned about not only the economy, but education, whether their children will be educated, whether the state, the government will invest in their children's education. The hope, the American dream lies in their child. It lies in the child in the future that they came to this country for, and so that their child can lift up the family. Then we know these people are the ones who are the backbone of our economy.
Again, opportunities, kitchen table issues like education, that is a critically important issue that if you're a political party on one side or the other, that's an issue that resonates with Latinos.
Our conversation continued long after we ate all the chips. Even though the three of them had differing opinions, one thing they did agree upon, and that is this could very well be the election that the Latino vote tips the scales in one direction or the other. For our full conversation, please go to our website, cbsnewstexas.com. In the heart of Oak Cliff, Jack Fink.
Immigration, as so many people know, right now, one of the country's most divisive issues, but a community right here in North Texas is looking past people's status, bringing together migrants and America's pastime. It's a real-life field of dreams.
This is Liga Latinoamericana de Béisbol, the Latin American Baseball League. And on game days, it's a scene not too different from the reality of what migrant communities look like all over the U.S. Here, more than 10 teams representing countries like Venezuela, Nicaragua, Cuba, and other Latin American countries come together. Every player wears her country's colors, says Darwin Jove. He's Team Venezuela's manager and the league vice president. He immigrated here 9 years ago to the DFW area, but tells me most other players have been in country for less than 2 years, and all of their immigration status vary.
What is it that brings everybody together? What is it that you have in common? ¿Qué es lo que tienen en común que trae a tanta gente juntos aquí?
It's the love of baseball, says Jove. Back in our countries, it begins when we're young.
Why did you think it was important to form a sense of community for these migrants through baseball?
I do it because most of them are here alone in this country, he tells me, without family, and they've just arrived.
Do you miss your country? Do you miss home?
Of course, says Cuban national Adriano Borges.
They've opened the door for me in helping me find work, social communities, and even learning the culture.
While playing together brings them all a sense of community, they can't help but miss those they've left behind. Almost all of them say it's family, and it's their friends they miss most.
What is your dream? ¿Cuál es el sueño aquí? El sueño americano tuyo, ¿cuál es?
He says his dream is to have his entire family here living together in freedom.
That dream may be out of reach for some, especially with so many changing laws and policies for migrants and those who are seeking asylum here in the U.S. It's a worry that isn't lost on them. Adriano says he doesn't fear for himself much, but he does for his friends who are here under complicated immigration statuses that could ultimately have them deported when it's all said and done. It's a reality that is constantly looming for so many of these players, but one that at least for 9 innings on a Sunday can be forgotten on this field.
This is a field of dreams, a real one, no?
Yes, it is, he says, because we've all dreamed of coming to this country, living here, and playing baseball.
North Texans are keeping their culture on display for future generations to continue. This can be seen anywhere from a rodeo to a high school football game. We've got all of those stories coming up for you right here on Viva North Texas. Welcome back, everyone, to Viva North Texas. In this segment, we are taking a look at Hispanic culture being observed and showcased today, beginning with the classics. You may see these cars driving around town in various colors and even at various heights. Lowriders are an iconic part of Chicano history, and that continues to be seen today.
My favorite song is Suavecito because of my wife, Veronica, and that's why I decided to name it Suavecito. What we have right here is the 1952 Chevy 3100 series pickup. Been doing this for maybe about 10 years. This represents our culture. Basically, been wanting to do this for a very long time.
I like something flashy, so anything that you'll see me is gonna be sparkling, gold. I like a lot of gold. The lowrider culture it comes back from, the Raza Chicanos from back in the 40s and 50s, and I'm 47 years old. I've been around it my whole life. I picked it up from my older brothers, and it just goes on, generations. This is a 1959 Impala that I purchased around 5 years ago, and I've been working on it. It's still a work in progress. Back in the days, they used to stereotype us, with the cars, lowrider. But now it's a family thing now.
And we've been in this since before we were born. My nickname when I was younger was Kitty, and Hello Kitty is like my favorite thing. And pink is my favorite color. And I did white because in the bike club scene, there's not really bikes that are white. It's mostly like black or red.
I call her Chulita because this is my baby. But yeah, my dad got this for me, I want to say 3 years ago. And he's the one who picked it out and everything, so he's the boss. I feel very welcomed in this community. We're all a big family. We all take care of each other no matter what.
I think Fort Worth has really come out on the map for Tejano culture and lowrider culture. And as the years have gone by, heritage and everything has become so much more important to people here that now we have parades and we get to show our culture and be proud of it.
This has been an ongoing heritage for us, for me, my sister, my family.
It's not only a passion, we love this, we breathe it, we bleed it. Viva la raza!
The women of Escaramuza Charra don't want their dresses to fool you from thinking what they do is anything but hard work. They're real cowgirls, and they continue to showcase their craft in rodeo events across the country, including right here in North Texas.
And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear that music. Let's hear it for
This display of horsemanship may look beautiful, but the women of Escaramuza Charra don't want the dresses to fool you from thinking what they do is anything but hard work.
You know, it's a lot of horsemanship skills that go involved into Escaramuza. Being able to control a 1,200-pound animal underneath you in itself is a big deal. And then having our legs on one side, being able to control that balance is super big deal.
Some misconceptions are that we're just like the show part for the Mexican rodeo, or that we're just here to for looks. When in reality, it's a lot that goes into becoming Escaramuza and completing a routine than what people think there is. They think it's easier than it looks.
So, what is the sport of Escaramuza Charra?
Type of routine where there's crosses, there's spins, a lot of things, but it's mostly a synchronized routine on horseback, on side saddle.
The team consists of 8 women and requires both synchronization and speed.
They perform intricate routines at a gallop, and they face a very real risk of colliding with each other. So while people often get distracted by the dress as the focal point, these girls are charras. They are real cowgirls.
The creation of Escaramuza can be traced back to 1910. During the Mexican Civil War, women would perform escaramuzas, skirmishes in English to distract their opponents.
Okay, so these are blusa, or bow, or rebozo.
The Adelita dresses are similar to the ones worn by the Adelita revolutionaries in the 1900s.
Crinolina.
It's part of the culture that has been preserved in the sport. Dr. Diana Vela with the National Cowgirl Museum and Hall of Fame says that the sport is still relatively new to the U.S.
Consider it hasn't been here that long, and also that the obstacles that these girls in the United States have versus their counterparts in Mexico have. It's 133 is phenomenal.
This often means that teams travel long distances to get to competitions.
We've been to Oklahoma, San Antonio, Austin, Querétaro, San Luis, Zacatecas.
We're from Chicago. Chicago, from Illinois, so we came a long way just to be here.
Miranda and Sofia are sisters who are part of Las Catalinas. Their team traveled all the way from Chicago to compete at the Fort Worth Stock Show Rodeo for the first time.
It's a great honor to be able to take a sport that is been done by generations and generations in Mexico and really bring it to the light in the U.S. and show people what it's about and our roots.
Escaramuza is a sport rich in history, culture, and passion.
We got so many of our rodeo traditions from the Mexican rodeo. It's really hard to separate the two. And so in some ways, these charras are the women who came before us.
It's a really good representation of women in the Mexican Revolution, and it's a beautiful sport to be in, you know. Other than just embracing the culture, it's a really good sport. It takes a lot of discipline, and it'll really help in outside things aside from just Escaramuza.
Escaramuza Charra will continue to empower those who dare to honor the traditions of the women before them.
You know, we are beautiful, we are elegant, but the women empowerment behind it is something, it's an immense feeling.
Once again, that was our Nathalie Palacios reporting on that. We are all familiar with the traditions that come with homecoming and Friday night lights here in Texas, but one local high school brings a little something extra to its homecoming. Our photojournalists Mike Kinney and Crystal Cooper take us to Farrington Field in Fort Worth.
We're at the Northside High School homecoming football game. It's all about the school spirit.
All of the mums, the big Texas mums, the bigger the better.
I'm glad I'm a part of it because I get to make my mom and support my school.
We get to make memories that we might never experience again.
When I think of homecoming, I think of football. More of the American culture. At Northside, we bring a little bit of a difference.
1, 2, 3, ready, and... Mariachi isn't often included in the football season.
Once they start playing and they start playing those rancheras that everybody knows, this is awesome to see that you're at a football game and you're hearing mariachi music playing at the same time.
It's a culture here in the north side. The Hispanic culture is very, very large in our population, so we make it a point to be able to have the students come out and have a good time.
It's really fun to represent my community and my culture.
To
be able to come out here and do what we love. I feel a sense of pride seeing everyone support us. Mariachi has always been a safe space for me. It's always felt like home here.
As the first generation in my family, I'm continuing that tradition.
So as long as we support the community, community supports us, I don't think we'll ever die.
My friends, there is no denying right now, Latin music, it is seeing a massive global explosion, and it's all backed by things like record-breaking sales. We're talking about sold-out concerts and probably, and most importantly, acceptance in mainstream culture. Earlier, I took a deeper dive into a movement that has turned the music industry onto its head, and I sat down with one group of artists seen to be at the top of this very wave.
The last time we saw and heard Latin recording artists gaining a global following was in the early 2000s. Stars like Shakira, Mark Anthony, and Ricky Martin, for example, crossed over, singing in English to appeal to an American and international market. What we're seeing now is very different. Artists, mainly in the reggaeton or urban Spanish as well as Mexican regional genres, are dominating the mainstream charts, singing in their native language, Spanish. Perhaps the most popular is Latin superstar Bad Bunny. He's officially become Spotify's most streamed artist ever, with tens of billions of streams worldwide in the last 3 years. Also making waves on stream, Grupo Frontera. Originally from South Texas, the band who performs traditional Mexican music known as cumbias with an urban twist has recently broken their own records. The group has sold out shows and has even had a hit collaboration with Bad Bunny called 1%.
Me queda 1% y lo usaré solo para decirte lo mucho que lo siento.
It's a song that earned them the #1 spot on global charts several weeks in a row just this past summer.
Every time we all hit the stage, I think we all flip that switch, you know.
We recently caught up with the band while on tour to chat about this movement.
You guys have pinch yourself moments every single day.
Every day. Every day.
We talk about it all the time. When we did Coachella this year. It was, and for us, it's a blur remembering that day. But we have to go back to YouTube and watch the video all the time.
So then, what's in the water? Why is this happening then, and why is it happening now?
Yes, we had to. Because they had to. It was about time.
I think it was perfect timing. Yeah. I feel like it was at a point where everybody was looking for something new, and there was a bunch of like genres and like different types of styles of music that were already so big and were growing, but nobody's heard what we had.
At this sold-out show in Austin, Frontera's fans left no question to the kinds of crowds they draw. It was the same kind of turnout in Fort Worth for another artist who has also collaborated with Frontera and has cemented himself as a global chart topper. His name, Peso Pluma. He, along with Eslabon Armado, took the crown for the summer's most listened to song globally on Spotify. It's called Ella Baila Sola.
It makes me proud of like the Mexican culture because all that was popular were like American singers. So, I don't know, it feels cool.
It's big representation for us.
With over 62 million Latinos in the U.S. alone as of recent census data, the idea of representation in mainstream culture is something many fans of this music say is important to them. It's why they support it. It's also why streaming platforms like Spotify say this wave is just getting started.
We're living through unprecedented times. It's a beautiful thing to be a part of.
Michael Sanchez is Spotify's U.S. Latin head of artists and label partnerships.
What kind of conversations are you having? How are you all describing what seems to be this giant that has woken up and now turned the entire industry on its head?
Listen, we've known this was coming, so the conversation is always what's next. How do we take this to the next level?
Numbers from the Recording Industry Association of America show Latin music revenues hit an all-time high of more than $1 billion in 2022. This year's numbers are expected to be even higher, a mind-blowing fact for music executive and pioneer of Latin music in the U.S., Emilio Estefan.
Those different times. I'm so glad that it's a different time because for us it was so hard at the beginning, because even when you come with a different name or last name, or you come with a different kind of music, I mean, one person will decide in a record label if this will happen or don't happen. Now we have internet.
He says social media platforms and on-demand streaming have both played a major role in this trend.
I think because technology, go back to that, I mean, it helps so much to bring unity about people and not be a little bit, not be that much discrimination like we used to have.
We got new music from Bad Bunny.
A sentiment echoed by KISS FM staple and national DJ JC Chavez.
Music is a feeling, right? So I think people are starting to realize that you don't have to understand what the lyrics are. As long as music moves you and you feel what they're trying to get at, it'll connect with you.
We get so many messages from parents telling us that their kids that don't know any Spanish are singing our songs, and that's pretty cool.
Whether it's the culture, the sound, or just a thirst for something new,
goals, we're always going to try to make the music that we like, you know? We're going to keep doing what we love doing.
Latin music fans and artists all agree these sounds and the force that drives it will continue to set records and influence mainstream culture.
Well, we hope you got a little window into Hispanic and Latin culture here throughout Texas and specifically in North Texas. We thank you so much for tuning in and joining us for Viva North Texas. I'm Ken Molestina. Take care.